Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Virtue, and today I managed to find a really interesting topic, as you can tell by the title of the video. And this topic also has like a lot of narrative backing, as we saw how each Akatsuki duo went for like the biju, and yet Kisame went alone against B and failed. So essentially, like today, we're going to discuss how each Akatsuki like duo, I guess, or members would really like stack up against Killer B in the task of capturing the legendary Eight Tails. But before I go any further, if you didn't already notice by the title, I am joined today by someone who literally has slaughtered the Naruto YouTube scene for a few years now, pioneering like the more scenario-typical battles, such as like the one you see today, and that's none other than TG, ThunderGod. Go ahead and say what's up, bro.
What's going on, guys? TG or ThunderGod here. Thank you for having me on the channel. It's good. So we're here for a good time today.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on here, bro. You're an absolute go. Anyway, if you guys haven't already, for whatever reason, go subscribe to this man. Help him get 20K. Like, come on, what are we doing here, bro? Like, come on, what are we doing? Run it up, run it up. Essentially, like, me and TG were kind of talking, and we both like concluded that the best way to articulate this video is not to place like the members in Kisame's position, as like I think New Horizons did a video on this, like I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. So credit to him for the idea. But
that bastard.
Yeah. Yeah, but instead we're gonna like place them in a more direct position for the Akatsuki, and that would be Taka's position as they went after B in the cloud, because that's really how the Akatsuki tried to do it. That's how Obito wanted it to go. So you want to go ahead and like lay out like why we chose this and why we chose to go with Taka instead of Kisame's position? Or
Yeah. So when Kisame goes to fight Killer B in the original timeline, Killer B is inhibited in that fight as there's some external factors kind of depicting or like kind of forcing his hand and fighting a certain way. So he's with like the name always escapes me. I'm sure Virtual will like probably put it on screen, like Ponta and Sabo, or like whatever their name is. His rap teacher. They're spitting bars. He's he's in the studio or whatever. And the reason this matters is because these two were in the vicinity of B. It actually directly impacted how B was fighting compared to when he's fighting against Taka. There's no real reservations. You pretty much just get how B fights. B's kind of free flowing. He can fight however he wants. He's in a free area. No one's around. So kind of looking at that, it makes for a far more interesting discussion to use Taka. And it's a more accurate version of B. We don't really have to take like all these side steps and necessities for that discussion.
Yeah. There's not like the can he go all out because A might notice him or something. Like he's literally in the village like at the time, which is like more consistent since like that's how Pain went to go capture Naruto and stuff. So I think it alludes to a much better like matchup. So yeah. And as we know, each member of the duo kind of has the task of capturing one biju. So we're gonna kind of like place the duos in and then discuss a scenario in which one of them would actually be like the predominant catcher and then the other like support, and then vice versa, right? But again, this will be in character, so duos such as like Sasori and Deidara are like low-key like implied to be like very strict on the assignment, like almost like as like strict as possible. Probably like me and TG were talking about this right before, but like Deidara makes a joke and Sasori like he tries to kill that man. He's like, no, capture the biju. I'm not helping.
over art, like bruh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Over the art, bruh. But a group like Kakazu and Hidan might be a little different, as we know like Kakazu does tend to do most of the work and there instead of Hidan, and Hidan kind of just comes in. But we did see like against Yugito, like it was kind of implied that like Hidan did do a lot more than what he usually does, I guess, in capturing Yugito and whatnot. So we're kind of just gonna go off them in character. So that kind of alludes like who we're starting off with. Do you want to go ahead and start spitballing with like Kakazu and Hidan? Like go ahead with like Kakazu being like the heavier lifter and Hidan.
Yeah. So Hidan is weird. Listen, Hidan always gets ragged on in a bunch of these videos. I will say today we're gonna try and put some respect on his name. Now, there's a lot of self-admissions with Hidan. Slowest, worst aim in the Akatsuki. It also doesn't help the fact that like he's kind of the weaker one out of the two by a pretty decent margin. I'm not saying like he's complete fodder, because he actually does have some good feats when he's fighting alongside Kakazu, but it's just like Kakazu's kind of like the heavy lifter in this situation. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to talk about Hidan and like how his arsenal plays a factor in this discussion in a bit. So we'll kind of put the pause on that. But Kakazu's a lot more interesting. You know, he has a great performance against Kakashi, obviously. He showed very relative. Even able to like hit him out of Raikiri at some point after picking himself up off the ground. He's obviously able to press this Kakashi. Now, obviously, I mean, Kakashi isn't that much when compared to Killer B and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, we're being real. This is also more prevalent. If you go off like some of the heavy Sasuke stuff, what your opinion is on like heavy Sasuke and Kakashi. So I will say that there are other ends for Kakazu, like some potential higher ends of Yugito. Do you want to talk about this?
Okay. All right. So there's obviously the notorious skill, the infamous skill that's been floating around for like a few years now about how Yugito and Kakazu react and how Kakazu is able to catch her paw. He's able to take the force of it, and he's also able to react to that paw. And a lot of people like to really highball Yugito to the Edo Jinchuriki later in the early war when they're brought back as Obito's like 6 paths of Jinchuriki or whatever. And they're like relative to KCM1 when they're comboing. But there's a lot wrong with this. And the reason as to why is because we know Kabuto had a very large tendency to really mess with the Edo bodies, especially in regards to Itachi and Nagato. So Obito's greatest asset, I definitely see why Kabuto would have an incentive to mess with those as well. So, and I mean, like, that could allude credence to why the Force Data book says, like, she was very good with her biju, because maybe, that's what, like, propelled it to that level, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So, there are some good implications for that. And even B, he also notes that she's a lot different than when she was, like, alive. And
her movements,
yeah. So they're not the same. So that right there, it says enough about, like, why she should not be directly translated back to when she was alive, much less being, like, weaker than her alive, like the other Edos. So it's really unquantifiable. I mean, it is a good feat for Kakazu, just in taking it as, okay, he takes a biju's, like, paw force, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not gonna, like rat down and be like, well, where does that scale? I mean, it's not like a biju bomb. So, but...
I agree.
Yeah.
I also want to add real quick that, like, being good with your biju also does not translate to being a perfect Jinchuriki. I want to add, because, like, perfect Jinchuriki and being good with your biju and, like, having a good relationship are two different things. Like, we see that even, like, the Minato one-shot, for example, you have Han and Roshi. They're, like, doing these, like, partial avatars and whatnot, but they're never noted to be perfect Jinchuriki ever once. The only ones like Yagura and B. So, these could be individuals, could have a decent relationship, but that just does not translate to being like these perfect Jinchuriki who can do these partial transformations and have this much fluidity and control with the Biju's chakra. So I just want to throw that in, but I agree.
No, you're completely good, and that you worded that perfectly, kind of off what I was going off of, like how it's very hard to take it as. I just go as it's biju level. It's biju level because it's a biju, right? But it's not like a peak like biju bomb or nothing like that. He's not like ripping his hands through her paws or something.
Fights off screen. I mean, come on, let's be real.
Yeah, he just jumps on her head and like rips her eyes out and just starts punching her down like totally raw.
Right.
But no, we kind of go with, and it gets more consistent that he's not that level when you go back to as ThunderGod was just talking about the Kakashi fight, and we could see that like the Hearts and Kakazu himself are like getting reacted to by Choji and Shikamaru, and like I mean, come on now, Shikamaru's shown like relative to Hidan, and I mean most people like to put him as like the slowest in the Akatsuki. Now I do have some contentions with that, but I mean if that doesn't say enough, that the fact that they can't even react to it kind of says enough. But do you want to go ahead and like get into the like the hearts and how they go and how they
so generally the hearts, we do see that like Kakashi's able to react to them pretty confidently. Choji and Ino also do react to one of the hearts. Kakashi reacts to like the lightning heart, arguably the fastest one. The reason I say arguably is just due to like the nature of Raiton and how generally like throughout the series it's more like that's the nature release that provides like the most speed substantially. But again, that's just like my 2 cents. And Kashi obviously reacts to that with double Raikiri. Now I will say the lightning heart is pretty potent, but like I don't think like Raikiri again is like that much to be. This dude literally ate a Chidori to the chest. So if I'm being real, I don't think it's like that much. But there is like some contention because you obviously do have to compare Kashi's Raikiri to that Chidori. But so like the hearts themselves aren't that crazy. Now there might be some issue with their durability, but there's, and I say, I don't think it's that crazy. We do see in the War Arc 1010 one shots it with like the six pats ninja tool. And granted, that is a six pats ninja tool. So maybe like they might be more durable than they let on. But I can't imagine that it would be that insane from what we've seen. It also doesn't help that Kakazu brings the hearts out only when he actually starts taking damage and losing them. So like the way Kakazu fights is like he'll bring the hearts out
Yeah.
when he like loses one, right? And then he'll start fusing when he actually loses another heart. So it doesn't help because like for example, you could maybe say like Kakazu might have like this this hypothetical peak where he fuses with all four hearts, and like while I agree that's possible, it's like in character he doesn't do that. Like it's pretty linear how he progresses. So there is too much of that, and I don't think the hearts
Yeah.
themselves like are that substantial like stat wise. I think their potency is pretty impressive,
Yeah.
but I don't think that matters too much in this discussion, which we'll talk about more.
Yeah, like I completely agree with everything you said there. Like the lightning heart, it's good. Like it's able to have like the true like Raikiri, but I mean like okay, I guess like we're talking about Killer Bee here, like, and we'll get into him a little more. But the only way that these really pose a threat to Bee is if he's goofy, and then since he's being goofy, I mean, is he even gonna take him out, or is he just gonna like mess Kakazu up in base or something, because like he kind of goes into like that seven sword style, and he's able to react to like Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke, literally, and he's like sitting there taking notes while like Sasuke is trying to like hit him and stuff. So
He's writing down rap lyrics, bro. It's like, come on.
yeah, bro, come on now. Yeah, so I mean like even if like B does start like with the seven sword style, like, and Kakazu's in base, I mean, I really don't see much that Kakazu's gonna do because Sasuke, it's very emphasized that the Sharingan was the only reason why he didn't get like stung like a bee sooner.
Yeah.
Like yeah. So I think that's emphasized quite a bit. So I mean, maybe you could argue like the diamond morph and the armor and stuff may do something like and may help him like take a hit or some of the slashes, but like do you want to go into like where does the diamond morph, like where does that really
So
go
yeah,
to?
the thing with the diamond morph is that it's impressive. I actually think a lot of people underrate it because its upper limits aren't known.
Yeah.
We don't know how like ridiculous it is, and I could see why people would make like implications that maybe it's like oh did he survive a biju bomb with it? You know what I mean? So I could see that. The problem with the diamond morph is how fundamentally it makes Kakazu immobile when he does the full body
Yeah.
possession, which is why he has to like partial diamond morph his arms and like punch people. It's not like he's just running around full armored up like a like ironclad Susanoo like walking around. So because of that, it makes it so yeah, it could maybe provide like some momentary survival in the fight, but it really only acts as a stalling mechanism in my opinion. Like even like the physical blows from the diamond morph, I don't think are that beyond like what we've seen from B. Like he's getting slammed by C1 and C2 Jugo's like fists, and he doesn't care. It's like this guy's getting ragdolled around. He's used to like physically contesting with the Raikage. So maybe that's a bit of a leap. But the point is, Diamond Morph shouldn't be like a make it or break it point in this discussion for me at least. It
Yeah.
should be more so used in a more so like a survival, maybe tanking some of B's attacks. But again, I can't see this being like the greatest offensive option against B and would really make a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, so I mean, I think like it's punches. If you were to punch him with Diamond Morph, that might do something. Again, the
Yeah.
hardening, it has like good upper limits, but again, you have to cut it off at an upper limit. You have, because you can't say he's just gonna beat up Kagi with Diamond Morph and Kagi's gonna like shoot a true signal. He's gonna be like standing there like Superman, hands on the hips. That's probably not gonna happen. So you have an upper limit to it. This should definitely be established. And then, so where is that upper limit? Like, is it really on Killer B's level? Someone who's able to, like, I mean, if you really take that highball interpretation to Kakazu, someone who's able to combat with that, combat perfectly with Yugito. So, I mean, is it really on that level? I doubt it. Like, I really doubt it, as we did, like, kind of bring down that interpretation earlier. So, really, like, the Diamond Morph won't do much. So we definitely see Kakazu like getting like stabbed probably here, and I mean like since they all kind of went straight through Sasuke and Kakazu don't got nothing like Karin to heal him or anything, he's probably gonna hit a heart or something, and then he's gonna have to bring those hearts out. Which then like how does B interact with all these hearts? And I mean again you have like the Syrian migraine, which Like, this is something that just barely overpowers Kakashi's basic water style. So if you were to, like, get something like Killer Bee, I really don't think they're able to do anything. And I mean, that's even if they're able to touch him, considering that Choji and Shikamaru can react in the beginning of part 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like this is the and like no, Kakazu should be on the level or even almost below like a full power Kakashi at that point, like where he was, because Kakashi was still holding back to the degree where he felt he could completely control that fight without having to go into Kamui. He didn't feel
Yeah.
the need. He's like, okay, I'm still comfortable. I can still hold this off for this time. Right? As when he saw, like, I mean, you can't really use the instance against Deidara since Deidara was in the air, but even then he uses against, like, Deidara, and he's more willing against that than him, like, for him to try to use, like, another one of his, like, 1,000 jutsu, right? So, I just don't think the hearts are going to do much here, but I do think,
if
Go
you
ahead.
want to be like, you could even like make a case for like the wind style, like pressure damage, like the wind heart, right? Hidan unironically tanks it, which nobody brings up. Like that's
Yes.
a combo with the duo
Yeah.
that he will shoot the hearts out while Hidan's fighting somebody, and Hidan knows he's like, I can't, nobody survived that before. Like you're not bad and stuff like that. So it's like you have to ask yourself, like even if you're like more generous and you say like maybe base B hasn't displayed that durability once he starts leveling these cloaks up, I mean, come on. Are we gonna say like Hidan is better durability than like the chakra cloaks? Realistically, like the 8 tail
Yeah.
struggle, it's just not.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
It's not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not there. But unironically, like on the topic of Hidan, low key Kakazu might have a better chance if Hidan is actually doing more and more engaging. Because Hidan actually, I mean, like, let's be honest, compared to someone like B, yeah, he sucks. Like, I don't think anyone really disagrees with that. He does suck compared to B. But the thing is, B's goofy mentality might actually have him getting cut or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, getting the immortality. He gets, like, stabbed through the heart because of it. So, this is definitely the biggest, like, downfall. Like, what do you think the chances are of that? What's your opinion, ThunderGod?
So, I mean, something to note too is that Sasuke was never able to cut B, even with
Yeah.
Jugo and Suigetsu like jumping in and stuff. So this you have to look at like this would definitely need to come from like a combination attack with Kakazu, right? And it's like what heart really gives him that sort of opening to where B would be put in a position where
None.
he couldn't blatantly dodge Hidan or he's in a restricted position. There's none, right? There's none. It would just be like Hidan chasing
There's
B.
none.
So it's like it's definitely possible. You're just like you really have to just kind of mark B as a moron, which he's not. Like being goofy and being a moron are two very different things. B's actually a very smart fighter. People don't give him credit. Even when he's fighting Kisame, he's like gauging Kisame's reaction times with his lightning style and like judging how he fights. So
Yeah.
there's a level to that. So it's definitely possible that B could get nicked in this fight. But even then, right? Hidan does have to draw up the circle and kind of get this win condition down. And it's like, okay, is B gonna really like? Is that really gonna happen?
No.
Like, so it's possible. I won't say it's
Yeah.
impossible,
Yeah.
but it's not likely. It's possible, but not probable.
Yeah. So, like, honestly, another thing that with the premise going back to that, because the intro was already long-winded enough, but if if the fight goes large scale enough, A and C and Darui and all those guys can come in. They can come in to save B, or like those other Jonin that saw him against like Sasuke. So I mean, they can come in, but I really don't see like these jutsus really being enough. Maybe the wind style is the only one I could see that makes like A be like, what the hell is that? But even then, like I don't even see it getting that far. I really think B is gonna be able to stop them in their tracks before that point. So like what do you think the chances are that they take this and they are able to capture B? Like
It's like a 1 out of 10 Hail
Yeah.
Mary in my opinion. And it's like you really want it to be. I mean, most people can probably agree full Gyuki just stomps. But if you really
Yeah.
want it to be out there, B has like stealing ninjutsu in his Gyuki form that was restraining the Edo Jinchuriki. So it's like, could he just start restraining the hearts as well while he's just like playing around? It's like he's got options. He's got options. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there really just isn't too much. But I think there is always that chance, but it's just not probable enough. There's the stat disparity and arsenal disparity is just way too much.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, I mean, I go with the same thing. I may go a little higher. I may think that the Hidan stuff, like, he may be able to get some off, like, catch him off guard. Maybe all the hearts are pressing him and B's having, like, fun or something. So, I give him, like, a 3, maybe a 3 out of 10 or something like that. But for the next duo we have, which is a more strict one, which is going to be a little different because they're not going to be fighting so combo-esque, and it's going to be Deidara versus Sasori. And like, Deidara in character does it alone. Like, we already know that, like, with Gaara and stuff like that. So Sasori is going to be on the side, and Deidara low-key might have the worst shot out of everyone in the Akatsuki. And this is, like, this is kind of just because of how loud he's going to be. He's literally going to, if he does what he does against Gaara, where he goes in and drops the otaku, like, C3s and all that, A is probably going to murk him. Like, I'm not even going to lie. I don't think, like, Inoki relativity is good enough to get, like, Deidara on the level, of, like, B or anybody like that.
And that's only in the air, too. It's not even, like, talking about, like, on the ground, which I guess, like, I mean, I wouldn't say it matters because, like, Deidara is an aerial, like, ranged fighter anyway, but if he does get grounded, I mean, that's it, bro. Like, if you want to, like, also look at the Sasuke fight, look, Sasuke even tags him in the initial encounter. He very quickly surmises that he cannot play a ground game with Sasuke. He needs to go in the air. You see the gash mark after they have that little interval where, like, he throws the bomb behind his back. So there's a certain reason for that, and that may not even work against B, just since how B can, like, soar across the battlefield with no issues. He's like able to launch himself. So this really isn't prevalent. The explosions, speed-wise, shouldn't be anything outside of what B's just combated. Desby should be above the likes of Heavy Sasuke. I'll say this, we both agree with this. We're not going to get too much into it in this video, but, like, even if Sasuke was fully healed in that fight, B still would have murked him. I don't think anybody, like, really thinks otherwise, but, that's just kind of, like, the fact of the matter. We won't go too much into that. But, yeah, so, I mean, even the explosions themselves, I think it's a bit questionable with the higher stages of B's cloak. It's just, like, the right tone's obviously a counter, although, granted, B won't have the Sharingan to analyze the countermeasure. I mean, 1v1 Deidara just, like, it's like he can't even use C4 just because he does need to capture B. So it's like, what do you gotta say, man? It's like, it's a lot of it's like pretty,
Yeah, I mean, like, I hate to do Deidara like this, but, like, Deidara's only thing that would work is if somehow he went to test B and he's like, it's a Jinchuriki. Maybe I'll just go with a really high bomb at the start and just catch him off guard, just drop one down, and B just happens to not notice it. But, like, seriously,
like a C3 prep bomb.
Yeah, like, seriously, what are the chances of that? Like, so if he's in the air, and he like comes down and A is gonna murk him. Honestly, I think Cee and Darui are a much closer match. They're able to react to 5 Kage Summit Sasuke, who's way above Heavy Sasuke, which I went really in depth on, like, Deidara versus Heavy Sasuke, but in my last video, but I promise you guys, he does not scale to Heavy Sasuke at all.
Bars.
It's only his explosion velocities that scale. This is so prevalent and so, like, misunderstood in the fandom that, like, he literally fights Sasuke so far on the basis that he's like, okay, due to this speed disparity, I'm just going to have to resort to flying in the air where we can't even interact with each other, and I could just hopefully drop bombs with landmines under you. Like, what does that say? You know what I mean? Like, every tag in the whole fight is from a ginormous distance where it could almost be considered a blitz on Sasuke's part, or some big bomb. And he just can't he just can't escape, like, that velocity and that range. So, I mean, again,
I agree.
I think Deidara's chances, especially since Sasori won't really be helping him here, I mean, it's not going to be good. Maybe if Sasori sees, like, he'll be on standby. Maybe if he sees him get real hurt, he might. But considering he was willing to kill him, I doubt it. So, I mean, to go into, like a round 2, I guess, to conclude this duel, how do you think Sasori does against them? What do you think?
So Sasori is very interesting to discuss, just due to the nature of his arsenal, his poison. And I'll throw a side note out here too, because I've heard people say this, that he doesn't use his poison against Jinchuriki. I 100% agree. It makes no sense that he wouldn't. He knows how to make an antidote, so it stands to reason he would just poison them. Since all his weapons, all his sand is coated in poison, and then just give them the antidote after. Especially since it lasts a couple days, the paralyzing poison. So I'll start off with that. He does use his poison against Jinchuriki. It'd be very weird to assume otherwise. Yeah. And that's there's a lot of nuance to Sasori. Now, if you're starting him off in the Hiroko puppet, I mean, come on, man. Like it's just like come on, man. Like, are we being real? Like, what does the Hiroko puppet have that's really threatening to be? Like, even its tail, which is, like, touted as, like, hard, is like shattered later on by Sasori's third Kazekage puppet. You know what I'm saying? He just really has this great feat against Conqueror,
Yeah.
which you could even argue like it's somewhat due to prep. Cause not that Sasori wouldn't be above Conqueror objectively at that point anyway, but just pointing it out. So I mean, the Hiroko puppet shouldn't stand too much. I mean, Sakura one shots it. Obviously, Sakura's strength is impressive, but I don't think it's like
Is it B
outside the
level?
realm of like yeah, like what it's outside the realm B could like replicate or
Yeah.
to a relative degree. So yeah, I mean, starting with that, Hiroko puppet kids kind of gets
Yeah.
shattered.
I completely agree. Like going off what you said, like even if you go with like the same interpretation, how he'd interact with him, like and because Sasori will be like Sasuke, and he will be on the ground, like he'll walk through the training grounds, but he'll probably be in Hiroko, and Hiroko's touted as you mentioned to be very good CQC, but like. Let's be honest. So let's go back to like the seven sword style. We know that the seven sword style was blitzing Sasuke to like the point where it was like impressive that he was able to survive the first one. Like he was able to just survive the first piece of it. And that was due to the emphasis on the Sharingan's precog that allows him to do that. So since Sasori is lacking there, I see no reason to why the Hiroko tail would have enough durability to take B's sword slashes or even like a speed to keep up. And I think it would just maul straight through it. And since like Sasori's inside, Loki might like hit him too and scuff him up. So like another like interesting like thing to talk about is once he gets out of that, you know, and assuming B's like still like B's probably still not threatened enough to be like, all right, I'm cutting his head off. Like, you know what I mean? Because B's an absolute monster. Like, he's relative to like the Raikage, who's above like a way later MS Sasuke. So like he's holding back here. B's low-key above Kisame, who's also a monster. Even later, he's like KCM like 1 level, all that good stuff later. So, you know, I mean, like, what do you really do here? I mean, like. Sasori, like, okay, so what does he do from here? Does he go... We'll go to a few different ways. So does he go to the 100 puppets that destroyed a whole country? You know, maybe it takes out the whole cloud. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Or he goes, like, third Kazekage. And I'm not going to go into the third Kazekage. Neither of us are, because if you guys haven't heard that, like, bro, come on. Like, just... Go watch my Sasori Deidara video. Or go watch a bunch of TG videos. I know he's talked about the third Kazekage a lot. So, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. He's not as good as what some people think. He's not as high as what some people think. And either way, B is still above, like, or at least relative to his highball interpretations. So, regardless, taking a more normal stance where Sakura is able to blitz him and stuff like that, like... You know, the third Kazekage is probably going to get smacked up by B. But do you want to talk about, like, maybe, like, what if he tries to use the 100 puppets, like, against, like, the village or against B and something like that?
Well, I want to add something real quick to the third Kazekage, because I think this is the appropriate progression, because he unveils the 100 puppets when the third Kazekage gets destroyed. It's you know, so he's like, oh, yeah, like, I haven't been forced to solve a problem this way. He's like, it'd be a waste to use some other puppets too. He's like, all right, I'm going to just use this. And something that's interesting about the third Kazekage is that I think there is there could be a case to be made for, like, his Iron Sand possibly being piercing enough. There is something, because you know we know how, we know how he runs it. Like he has the ability to like amplify the speed of his attacks, like, using the polarity of the Iron Sand. He obviously like does this in the fight with Chio and Sakura and whatnot. Listen. I want to say, like, because I want to bring this up because Granny Chio, people like, you know, I've said like obviously she can react to him and stuff like that and whatnot. I want to start by saying that like her basic chakra arm and defenses were able to stop the Iron Sand. Like she has the arm modification as it just able to block like the enhanced speed of the attack. So I think there is something to say. Granted, Granny Chio doesn't really have any anti-feats, at least at that point in the series. Like she's still an animal. But I do want to know, like, you kind of have to draw a line between like these basic chakra defenses compared to like these higher level Jin Cherokee defenses. You know what I'm saying? The higher level chakra cloaks and whatnot. Like you don't really assert so much for so long. And I want to add to that. The problem, B actually, now this is the thing, B should actually be able to cut the chakra threads, which nobody ever brings up. The main thing is he probably wouldn't be able to sense them, but I just do want to note that like he has the capability to do it. Omoi does it in the war with like a basic blade, not chakra enhanced. We know B can enhance his chakra blades in Raiton, so that's also something to know. If he like figures out, like he's like, okay, this guy's a puppet style user. He like deduces the battlefield, kind of similar to what he does to Taka. He should also be able to do that. But again, there's nothing to suggest that like the speed of Sasori's attacks despite them, if they like do connect, would be like really damaging to B, unless he like scrapes him with the sand and like poisons him and whatnot. Just like a little tangent on the third Kazekage.
No, yeah, you're completely good. I think Sasori is like another one of those cases where like if he could get the poison, it'd be good. You know what I mean? If he can get the poison off an antidote, that's like the only other thing similar to Hidan where it actually works out really well. But back to like the Raiton blades point, those are able to cut and make Kisame bleed. And Kisame, like, this is like an amped up Kisame with B's chakra. So, I mean, I would definitely say that this Kisame, considering he has way better feats, on B, he should be way above Sasori. So I definitely think, like, B could just absolutely maul through those strings. And, B, with his 7 sword style, is going to do actually a lot better against the 100 puppets than, like, let's say an average shinobi, just due to the amount of ways he could attack with, like, him just, like, flying through and stuff like that. So, again, we don't really see Sasori doing too much. And if you think, like, the 100 puppets are going to be, like, too much of a distraction to the point where A is like, oh my god, and he has to come in, then I think it's just going to be the same thing that happened with Kisame at the very end, where she shows up, he's like, sorry, we're late, and he just lariats his head off. I think, what's interesting about that is what I actually like to talk about Sasori is his body would rebuild itself. So, but I mean, like, again, they should notice where the core is, because neither of them are dunces. Like, especially A, he gets a big reputation for being, like, a meathead idiot. But, like, B, on the other hand, and I'm not saying A's an idiot. He's really not. Like, he is, he's just hot-headed.
Yeah, he's not, like, a dummy. Yeah,
he's hot-headed. That's a very good way to put that. But, I mean, B is very intelligent. He tests Kisame's reaction patterns. He judges him with wind drop, stuff like that, with Raiton to test how his head would move. To judge how he'd do it better in his next attack. So he's an absolute, he's low-key pretty smart. Like, let's be honest here. So he should definitely be able to figure out that the core is there, in which then they would just lariat at the core. You know what I mean? Or he would just stab the core. So, I mean, again, that's literally how he died, was with basic blades. So, like, a Raiton blade should definitely just put him down. And honestly, like, Darui might be enough, you know what I mean? So, especially if they all come in and they're like trying to save him from being captured, it's just too much for either of them to handle. And since Deidara does seem to care about Sasori more than the opposite, he may jump in, but again, they're not going to be enough. A is too fast, especially, like, I don't even think he'll have to go V2, but V1, V2, way too fast. And I think they're, like, V2 is way more of a rival to, like, a KCM1, even, like, in the war, so... how do you see, like... Go ahead.
This duo, I agree with everything you're saying. And, like, their win con is definitely going to have to come a little earlier. I think that's what Sasori and Hidan share. They kind of have to catch B lacking. Otherwise, the stat disparity and defenses make up too much of a difference at that point for, like, the win cons to be enactable, I should say.
Yeah, no, I do completely agree. It's a very, like, very stereotypical. But, yeah, and anyway, like, what did you say? Like, what would you say... Let's start with Deidara. How would you say he does in the encounter?
He might do worse, bro. This is bad. Like this is like actually bad. Honestly, like I might give him the same ranking I gave him gave Hidan or Kakazu just because it's not like he brings anything else to the table. Like pretty much everything he does doesn't really matter against B, there's nothing really to that. So I can't necessarily see Deidara being like more impressive, honestly speaking.
I completely agree. Yeah. And I mean, I do think I completely agree. I would give him like maybe, cause again, he has the flying, which makes him do, in my opinion, better than Kakazu. And then because he could leverage the village that way, because the bombs don't do much to A due to like how fast he is and stuff. And same with B. But he could probably drop them on houses, and leverage something for A, and it might just piss A off. But I think that just because of that chance, I would give him like a 3, maybe like a 3, and then for like Sasori, I think again it's kind of as we were just talking about, like with him being similar to Hidan, and he has that small win con. I would give him, like, I actually think he has a way better chance due to, like, how much easier, it's to get off that poison than Hidan's, like, big circle ritual, stand in it, get a ginormous red scythe, throw it at him, get blood. And, all he has to do...
He has, like, poison gas. Like, he has options that, like, B could just suck in or something like that. So, keep going.
No, yeah, of course, yeah. So, like, he just has so many better ways to get the poison off. So I'd give him, like, low-key, like, I'd give Sasori, like, a 4. A
Yeah, I agree
3
with
or
that.
4, yeah.
I agree with that.
And so now to get into a more contentious round, we got Itachi and Kisame, one of the which has already fought B. So,
Yeah.
do you want to like? So since we know that Kisame is certainly like the one that does most of the biju capture, do you want to kind of put him on the front, and then we'll just keep Itachi at the side, and then we'll talk about if Itachi happens to
Yeah,
jump
yeah. I
in.
mean, we honestly, the thing about
Yeah.
Kisame, man, he's always fun to talk about because a lot of people have very different opinions on him, just due to how like fundamentally Kisame is a very momentum based fighter. He pretty much uses the Biju's chakra against him. Now, the thing is, like, so we do get kind of I'm gonna let you talk about the other thing in
Oh.
a second here, but he does have some like decent showings against B once he does start to get that momentum off. He's pretty much able to combat B when he
Yeah.
starts leveling up in his cloak and whatnot. But there's a bit of a problem with Kisame. Do you want to talk about this? Like, 'cause I know
Yeah.
you have a stance on this.
Okay. So I actually think this fight is one of the most misread fights in the entire series. I've considered actually making a whole video on why people misread this fight, this whole whole fight. Okay, listen. It low key, all the reactions to anything V1 and higher is really not Kisame. It's just Samehada doing it. Samehada's doing all the lifting and all the reacting. This is shown because B charges with a straight up like stiff arm lightning blade at him, and Kisame, sorry, he just doesn't even move. He literally just keeps his hand there, and then Samehada just moves under, ducks, and then just smacks the elbow up, kind of like how Naruto does to the third Raikage. So like,
Yeah.
he does it there. Also like in the like when B is still not even being serious, because this is noted. B can't even use big scale chakra or like jutsu or anything noted by, I can't remember those other guys' names. I'll throw them up here on screen or whatever.
I
But
know.
yeah. So whenever he does go into like V2, he does like one of the guys. He's like, oh look, it's only like 7 tails. He's still not serious yet. So then even when he does that, he tries to blitz him, and Kisame's hand stays his left hand stays directly parallel with the midline of his head, and then literally Samehada just moves the entire way in front and then takes it, and B still slams through both Samehada and Kisame, literally leaving him like dead there. So if it wasn't for that absorption, again, Samehada helping him out, he would have been dead, like literally there. There's other instances as well, but I mean, sure, it works if you take them as a combatant, but since we know that B is going to do a lot better in this fight against Kisame, and he could still be like goofy, but he doesn't have to be goofy and also holding back. How do you think he's gonna do? Or maybe he'll like see Itachi and he'll have like a good precedent to be like, okay, I might need to, yeah.
I think when he realizes like Kisame's shtick, right? You kind of look at the original fight, because I agree with what you were saying. He in the original fight, he's like, all right, Kisame's just gonna absorb my chakra. I want to go full Gyuki, but we can't. I think in this situation, he's gonna have no reservations about that, and he's gonna straight up go full Gyuki, because obviously Kisame's not gonna be able to handle that much chakra. Even the smaller portions of the Eight Tails chakra was like, it was overloading him and Samehada.
Yeah.
It pretty much made Samehada switch up on him because it liked the taste of Beast chakra and like the squid flavoring or octopus flavoring of it and whatnot. So when you gotta look at it like that, he's not really gonna have too many options. I think B will be very prone to pick up on that Kisame is kind of a threatening fighter if he lets him kind of get this momentum. So he'll go full Eight Tails, in which case, I mean, what do we do? I think there is something to say about full Eight Tails Killer B versus Kisame, because some people might point to, for example, the water shark bomb. You know what I'm saying? What if he does that against the Biju bomb? I think this is kind of debatable, again, because people don't bring up that Kisame drains B to the point of like falling unconscious, which he doesn't do until like the only time he replicates this is in the actual fight with B, where he's just shaving off all of the chakra he and Gyuki give him. So it's also possible that the Kisame that fights Guy is also amped beyond what he would be normally. So there is something to that as well. But honestly, pretty much even if Kisame fuses with Samehada in this case, Killer B can do like that 8-tail spin once he's inside the water bubble and just completely annihilate it. There really shouldn't be any necessary reason. And Kisame's not going to have that opportunity. There's just not too much he can do once he goes full Gyuki. Like there's not really any other option he has. Like, you know?
Yeah, so I actually completely agree, and I think even then, like B's gonna if he does the seven sword style again, Kisame will not be able to keep up, and it would literally just be Samehada having to take out seven blades, right on enhance. I mean, come on now, like let's not play around. But so we definitely think that Kisame is not gonna to bring down B. But again, if full Gyuki comes out, then that also means A is gonna come over. You know what I mean? When A comes over, when Big Bro comes over, it's over, bro. It's over, and Kisame he's gonna die again, like how it was in the original timeline. But with Itachi being there, okay, it gets a little different since we know that Itachi is far like above Kisame. The novels, like it states in the Akatsuki Hidan novel, I think it's like the sixth novel in. It states that his power was so much above Kisame's that Kisame was just in awe in his presence due to the gap, like in power, which is like ridiculous. And it's very consistent. Like the Storm games also keep this in line. The one flashback where like he gets the Mangekyo out, and then Kisame's like, all right, yeah, I ain't messing around, bro. I ain't messing around with you. So again, Itachi is consistently above him, other than the fact of like displaying a higher narrative, being more like a rival to Pain, and like some say even Obito, rather than like a Kisame like mid to high tier level Akatsuki threat. So we definitely think that Itachi is really going to be given the work, and he honestly might give to work to both B and A. What are your thoughts? Do you think he might whoop?
I mean, I think B first and foremost is straight up a Tsukuyomi victim. You know what I mean?
I
like,
actually completely agree.
Yeah. People don't. Every time I bring this up, people say the same thing, but people don't realize the reason Tsukuyomi is so effective is at the speed at which it hits the person. Itachi pretty much has complete control over time and space. So it's going to be instantly before Gyuki can even snap him out of it. This is also why QB Naruto notes, if you get hit by it, you're done. It's over. So don't look into his eyes. Now you might say, okay, maybe B knows this, but A, in his first encounter with Itachi, he does look in Itachi's eyes. So Itachi does get that off even in the later war arc. And that's auto. I will say this too. That's Itachi when he saw the Edo Tensei like auto attack. He's not actually fighting full power. He doesn't have his MS out. None of that stuff. So yeah, 3 Tomoe. So it's like,
may I add real quick? There's like some people, like I don't even care if you like really disagree with like the Edo stuff over Alive or Alive over Edo, and I think it can honestly go either way. It's close to what people think for sure. But we know that like before he's like 3 Tomoe relative to B, relative to KCM1, and then he goes MS and he's like blitzing Nagato, who's like blitzing them. So the MS is like a blitz level. So if he's able to jump, dodge, do like the Phoenix Fire, react to it, put him in Tsukuyomi and a 3 Tomoe, you know, like and like Genjutsu, like I just don't see a way. Like, because again, he put him in a 3 Tomoe, but like if he does it in Tsukuyomi, it's over, and he's gonna be able to do it, twice as fast. So
it's really bad. It's really bad. No, I 100% agree, and it's like even if you don't think off of the reason like B doesn't look in his eyes, I mean. He can create a diversion. It's not like Itachi's dumb. You know what I mean?
And like right here, like there's two ways we could go with this. Like maybe he'll get B in the Genjutsu and he'll be like, all right, that's all we need. We're getting out of here, right? Or maybe he'll like fight him. So what do you think like happens if like he stays and he puts him under the Genjutsu and he like blitzes him and stuff, and then like A is there? Like, do you think he's gonna go as Susanoo? Like, well, just run me through your thoughts. What do you think is gonna happen?
I listen. I know a lot of people like to hype up A, but I'm not gonna lie. Look, there's a lot of ways to say Itachi just kind of ragdolls A, and I'm not sure. Like, I'll start with saying I think the Genjutsu point, because people have talked about this, like A's immune to Genjutsu. He's not. The difference is that A has like a chakra shield, like cloak shielding him, on top of having already an inherently high chakra supply, which makes him a difficult target to put under Genjutsu, which people don't look at. And you've seen the Madara fight, he does get put under Genjutsu. People just mistake this because Sasuke tries it in the Flat Kage Summit, and he just looks at Sasuke with no issue. So there is a difference here, and I will say that's base Sharingan Genjutsu. That's also not MS Genjutsu. What Madara hits him with is EMS at Genjutsu, which people also don't. I know I'm going off on some tangents. People don't realize like the Genjutsu for each like visual prowess, like base EMS Genjutsu is crazy. Like people don't understand this like point in the series that the Genjutsu tiers get pretty nutty. So there is something to that. And I think that's very prevalent. Like I could actually see a scene where like the Raikage is like, Genjutsu doesn't affect me, and Itachi's like, bet, let's find out, and then just apes him and stuff like that. The speed point might be contentious. I will agree with. I
Yeah.
think there is something to say that like he could dart around Itachi in a similar fashion to Sasuke. I think there is something to say that Itachi might still actually be able to perceive him better than Sasuke, because I think that Itachi is like still way above 5 Summit Sasuke. But in terms of the Susanoo itself, I mean, if he does get pressed to that degree, I think the speed disparity between the Susanoo and A might be something to discuss. I know people don't want to hear that. There's a couple ways to look at that. I'm just going to throw some couple of different interpretations. If you think the Sannin are above the 5 Kage, that's something to point out. You know, I know some people fall under that interpretation. If, you know, off the Orochimaru stuff and whatnot. But the bottom line is that, you know, Itachi is going to pretty much have Kisame as support to fight A. And I mean, look, you could make the case that like A, but like you're realistically dealing with somebody with a better. We really saw how A did against a far worse Mangekyo Sharingan user, a far weaker one. He was still kind of pressured. Even if he dodges a Matarasu, it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Because Itachi can still like put him in those types of positions. So, you know, that's like my 2 cents. What do you think about it?
So, okay, so I know you're kind of talking about how like you're like on the edge about the scaling for the speed disparity, but in my opinion, I think there's so much going that they would at least be relative to the point where A will not blitz him. A cannot blitz Itachi. There's like, I'm not gonna say there's not a shot, but realistically, A is much more on that Sannin level than what people like to give him credit for. And Itachi is above the strongest Sannin, like to the point where Orochimaru won't even contest him. He won't even try it. He one-shots the Hydra. He blitzes and one-shots the Hydra Oro, who's literally the strongest and largest of all the snakes. You know, he has so many good things. So you could put him above like base Orochimaru, and maybe a lot of people think he's like more of a rival to like Sage Jiraiya and stuff, and like a normal Tsunade is like relative to A. So I really think like, especially with Susanoo, I since we know that whenever he was cracking Madara Susanoo, A was being lightened. He had tons of help. There was usually 2 characters hitting each side. Like that's not what
combo
people think.
Attacks.
Exactly.
It wasn't.
Exactly. Yeah. So like whenever like he's doing it to Itachi's, like Itachi's is probably worse, but he also has the Yotamir, the Totsuka Blade, and A is a hothead, so the Totsuka Blade might catch him. What's he gonna do against the Yotamir? He's a very taijutsu-esque fighter. So we just don't see much. Like even if like you think like B were to do something, maybe even like fire the Biju bomb, like the Yotamir could low key just like reflect it, you know what I mean? So, and I know some people have different interpretations on the Yotamir, whether you think it's like monodirectional or omnidirectional, but let's think, like, okay, if it's supposed to be able to reflect all attacks and nullify all ninjutsu attacks, what about something like Haku's like Ice Meteors? That's a 360 way attack, right? How's it going to do that if it's monodirectional? So it kind of has to be omnidirectional, and that's consistent as like the size changes like almost double in like the Orochimaru Hydra. Like he's so much smaller than it, and he just dwarfs it in like a page. So there's like some good credence to that. So like, okay, so how would you give this match, like for Itachi and Kisame? What would you give them?
I feel like they almost, you know, if they're fighting, if they're Kisame alone, you know, I think he struggles a bit. If they're together, obviously I think it's a different story. Together, I think it would be hard for them to lose this one. I'm not gonna lie, just due to Itachi more so. If I'm being honest, like imagine giving Itachi like Kisame support where you can just make distractions. They're gonna hit B and leave like bandits. So I might grant like an 8 or 9 out of 10 for Itachi and Kisame. Yeah,
I was just thinking
that. I think those two like together. Because again, like Kisame and Itachi actually do have a good relationship in the Akatsuki. Like they do like you know, Kisame does like Itachi, and he does respect him a lot. Even when he's dying, he thinks back to Itachi's words. So these two are actually a lot different than a lot of other Akatsuki pairs, which not a lot of people bring up. But yeah, so I can actually see these two being more partial to working with one another rather than just like, letting each other fight, which they do. I'm not disputing that because that's what happens with Roshi. But I'm saying if they get put in a compromised position.
I mean, yeah, I do completely agree there. I think I'd really give this like. Again, I'd probably give him like a 9 out of 10. I think Itachi's doing a bunch of carrying. His back's going to be hurting, plus the stamina. But, you know, I completely agree with everything you said. I think you worded that very well about their chemistry. So I give this group like a 9. I really don't see much how they'd fail unless they just got really lucky, or like Itachi dropped dead or something. I think that's it. But yeah, like there's a lot to go for why Itachi did in the Sasuke fight, and this would be like probably like when he fought Roshi or whatnot. So moving to like the next like spots, I guess. We're not, since we know that Konan doesn't really capture Biju, we're not just gonna like waste time with her, because let's be honest, she ain't doing nothing. Okay, she ain't doing anything. And maybe we'll, like at the end we'll like briefly touch on Obito, but the main one we need to talk about now is Pain. And I know you've talked about this actually pretty thoroughly, so y'all should go check that out. But Pain versus B and that whole interaction, it's more like Pain versus the Cloud. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, but like how do we see Pain versus like the Cloud? Like, see, me personally, I do subscribe to Pain also having a really good chance, similar to Itachi and Kisame. Yeah, even though he's gonna be more like gung-ho, bomb the place down, burn it to the ground, because like if you take like I know we were talking about this before, like the anime interpretation of how like just like aped and monstrous Pain is against like the Six Tails, and if he does it against B, dude, it's kind of over. Pain has so many like good things going for him, like the chapter 364 synopsis statement that claims he's the strongest man in the entire Akatsuki. He literally ran through like a fifth of the Shinobi Alliance. If you take like the Leaf Village, like population, everything, he ran them down. Ran some chaotic Shinra Tensei. He used Chibaku Tensei. He was even confident of like making like a larger one. So I really, how do you think that this fight's gonna really start off? Yeah,
I'll say this, like at least me and Virtue, like we respect Pain over here. I know a lot of people don't. We respect Pain. Pain's ballistic. You know what I mean? So I've talked about this before, and I know Virtue brought it up, but pretty much Pain has a solid chance, really solid chance, because you know you could make the argument the chakra rods are inherently a counter to like the Biju cloak itself. They're also just a lot of people don't understand that like you cannot stop the chakra rods even if you do have certain chakra defenses, just due to how they work, the piercing properties, how literally it injects like the Pain's chakra into the individual and stuff like that, so it's like paralyzing them. So there is a lot to that. And I will say too, Pain is the type of fighter, especially with the Jinchuriki. What a lot of people don't understand is that his fight against Sage Mode Naruto is not how he fights normally. His fight against Sage Mode Jiraiya is not how he fights normally. That fight that you mentioned against Utsukata, that is how he fights. It's just an ape fest with all 6 paths of Pain literally just running around. There's so many factors around Pain, you know, and I haven't discussed the Diva path. We're not going to talk about how B has absolutely no way to sense the chameleon that's going to be darting around the battlefield. He's not going to have anything to permanently put down the animal summon. When Pain stacks the replicating jutsu onto the dog, he has nothing to permanently put that down. So there is a lot to it. And Pain's just gonna maul him, honestly speaking. Like B doesn't really have any answer for like the polarity jutsu, like gravitational. Like Bansho Tenin into like a Renegon Rod is a very real win condition, right? And I know we were talking about this too, because like it's kind of interesting to discuss like how B like stat wise like stacks up against Pain. Because a lot of people, I will say this. Not all the paths of Pain are equal, which I do agree with. Like I think some are stronger than others, specifically like Tendo. Whatever else, like I think more is like derivative of ability wise, rather than like a simple stat or like chakra difference. But I will say like it's interesting to discuss. Like, what do you think? Like, for example, what's your opinion on like B stat wise compared to Pain? Like, do you think he's gonna just straight up run Lariat Perception Blitz him, or what's your take? Yeah, talk to him.
Yes, okay, I got you. So I actually think that Pain is stronger and faster than Killer B. I know you've been hyping Killer B up quite a bit, but people don't. People take what Pain does in the series with Sage Mode Naruto and Sage Mode Jiraiya out of context. And let's look at them.
Cap all of it. They all lie to you. Yeah.
Let's look at Sage Mode Jiraiya. He puts Pain in the worst possible position, in the smallest quarters. He can't use all 6 paths. He uses the 3 weakest paths. They all get trapped in a genjutsu off guard. Okay? If you put anybody else in the world low-key in that room, there would be barely anyone who would walk out alive. Literally. If it was 6 paths. And even then, that's not even talking about how he does against like the Six Tails Naruto. He outspeeds him. He holds down the like almost like one tail off from full Kurama transformation. Like literally, Pain He's above 6 tails, and people don't understand how like Sage Mode Naruto stat wise is. This is a Pain who just ran through the entire Leaf Village, which is like I heard Six make a really good comparison, calling it 1/5 of the Shinobi Alliance, which is
Yeah, that was
it's
bars.
somewhat true, but there's more citizens there too, so there's even more people he
Yep.
has to interrogate, and he runs through that entire thing. Okay, then faces Sage Mode Naruto, who Shukaku or Shikaku, not like Shikamaru's dad, implies
Yeah.
to be actually above Tsunade's like full power, and that if she were to even interfere, she would just get in the way as well, along with them. So Seismo
He's in a
Naruto,
different tier. He literally says he's like a
yes,
different tier
a
than
different
everybody
tier.
else. We're
Yeah.
nothing to him now.
And that says enough because this Seismo Naruto is not like the one who fights the third, Raikage, like the one later. This is one that also has clones on Mount Miyaboku, just gathering Sage Chakra just to run Rasen Shuriken back to him, run Senjutsu back to him, just to give him the best possible chance. He has Gamabunta there, and Pain still wins. Pain won. He captured the Nine Tails.
Objectively
Yes.
won that. Yeah.
So again, a lot of people like to say that Six Tails is KCM 1 level. Actually, no, you have a really good comparison on the KCM 1 stuff on your channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know that Six Tails, like some people think that he is like KCM 1 since Five Tails is KCM 1 and then Six Tails above that. So you could take that interpretation. You could also go with like, take him, like you could argue he's above Itachi via the statement. And some people like to think that that statement does refer to Itachi, but I do got a Itachi versus Pain video coming, but I'm just gonna allude to it now. That statement does talk about Pain because it's they're in pursuit to capture, and the definition for pursuit is to capture somebody and to catch somebody. And anyway, pretty much Itachi directly states out loud he is not there to capture Naruto or catch Naruto like at all. So again, you could take him above Itachi and go that route, as we were talking like with that Sanin-esque tier being above A. So no one in the cloud could contest Pain's power. No one could
Yeah.
do it. Like, do you have any like disagreements? Do you think like maybe
I mean,
V2A?
I would add too that this is especially prevalent if you think full power pain, which is what we're using, is above gray haired Nagato, who could
Yeah.
also like react to that. And this does differ from manga to anime, depending on like what you look at, because B does move slightly different, but he does react to version 2B and is actually able to catch Naruto off guard with the chameleon and whatnot, and actually blow him back before Naruto can get away. And Naruto does like hatred per like he has he's able to sense like hatred or evil intent, and he does like know like he looks over and the chameleon just appears. So if you kind of go off that too, this is not even that crazy for Pain like stat wise. Like he's more comparable to like fighters like that who are on like a similar speed tier to B and the Raikage and whatnot. And even if you think the Raikage is
Yeah.
faster than B, he has no answer for Bancho Tenin or Shinra Tensei. Like nothing. Even if you're arguing he's running around, the minute he gets like the gravity affects him, like all Pain has to do is have some relative semblance of where the Raikage is or going to be. And once he does pick him off the ground, the Raikage cannot do anything. There's nothing he can do in that position and whatnot. And this is not accounting for all of the other paths of Pain and whatnot. And it's not like the Raikage really has that much jutsu. It's more so just like lightning style enhanced movement or like teleportation jutsu, body flick, or whatever the series wants to refer to it as. I mean, I think B2A does
Yeah.
well against Pain, but like against all six paths, like there just isn't much to do it.
He's
You know what I
getting
mean?
jumped.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting jumped. And again, like this isn't even talking about could like yes, B is very very smart as we were alluding to in the last round, but could he figure out Pain's abilities? Like, would he know? Like, what if Pain were to use something that like most people don't credit him? What if he uses Rainmaker and he just hails it down? What if he does that, and he's able to then like sense every single drop. Then he's able to sense where Raikage is at, how he's coming for him. That's like an extra level beyond the vision. You know what I mean? If you do think that like Rainmaker can be used outside of the rain, and whatnot. So again, like there's quite a bit to do with this, and there's so many abilities that he has, and his stats are just higher. So even if their stats were like relative with B's being higher, Pain could still win just due to the hacks. So when you add the hacks, like on top of what like Pain already presents and brings to this battle, it's just very very bad. Like Soul Extract, he could bring back the Naraka if they do take one. So it's like yes, he will have the whole village, but really like what is Cee, Darui, A, B? Like what are they really gonna be able to bring down Pain I just
Even full Gyuki isn't
yeah.
that crazy for him. Like he's literally contesting with like the full half of the Nine Tails, and he still thinks he could take it all. He's like, I'm gonna have to make the Chibaku Tensei bigger, and he's like prepared to. So it's like this isn't,
Yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like nobody brings
exactly.
that up. So it's
Yeah.
like this guy is ridiculous. So even full Gyuki isn't that crazy. I'm not now. I will say, there is something to Gyuki being a little different than that Nine Tails because B is still like having cognitive awareness rather than just being like this animalistic form of Naruto that's appearing and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
think there is something to that as well. But at the same time, this is still pain. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's got a lot less reservations because
Yeah.
he only really approached the way he did against the Elite Village. He was pretty much divided into two groups because he wanted intel. He didn't care about anybody. He's like, even against Kakashi, right? People like to quote Kakashi's feats. This dude was just asking him for intel. And the minute he got it, Kakashi almost chakra fatigued himself to death trying
Yeah.
to figure out Pain's abilities against like one
No,
path, maybe two.
literally, yeah. Like he sees Kakashi and he messes with him for a minute and he sits there and he's like and he just blames that his wide scale jutsu and his intellect. He's like, all right, yeah, you're gonna die now. Yeah,
You're
I
kind
need
of
to get some.
annoying.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
need
got
something
good
else.
moves.
And
Yeah.
he just kills him. It's like that. It's the fastest Kakashi ever dies. So if you take someone like Darui, who you think's also like a lightning user, and he's could be similar. He's like that cold, calm, composure guy. Maybe he is similar, but again, what's he doing? Like Pain would bully him too. You know what I mean? It's just it's a fest. And like even if you say they go transformation and he gets like he goes V2 like how he did Kisame, but like even serious V2 like that's fine, right? And you take A with V1 or V2, could Pain just like Shinra Tensei the cloaks off? Would he just literally shove them off? Like because all they are energy, and then Pain's Shinra Tensei is just electromagnetic waves. So it's very hard to quantify their potency being above his Shinra Tensei. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, yeah, and I will say too, like to add to this, like a lot of people don't, a lot of people underestimate like the Rinnegan absorption. It puts Kisame to shame. I'm gonna be
it
honest. Like
does, yeah.
like Nagato rips off two cloaks of B's chakra, and he does it in such a fashion that when B goes to fight Nagato again, he's still not in Biju form. Meaning he took enough chakra to where Gyuki, it took time for Gyuki to need more for B. So it's like it's not insignificant. It's not like B's gonna be pulling what he does against Kisame. No, if he gets grabbed, that's it.
Nah.
It's over. It's done.
Yeah.
It's wrapped.
No, yeah. Pain, he low-key is slaughtering. This man is built to bring down Biju. Like, low-key, like, yeah, Itachi was cool, but his are more for, like, a one-on-one fight, you know? But Pain's are literally, like, built, factory made for taking down Biju. Like, if he's putting, like, Chibaku Tensei, as you mentioned, which should honestly hold full Gyuki, what's he
Yeah.
doing? You know what I mean?
I mean, even in like the context of the series, Obito has like the knowledge that Sasuke did fight B, and he does know what happened during that fight. And he still says, "Yeah, Sage Mode Naruto would pack you up, bruh." And I don't want to bring this mode
Exactly.
about like this video about this, but we're both of the opinion like Sage Mode Naruto and like peak 5 Kage Summit Sasuke are very close in strength. So
Yep.
just to like know, and that's obviously like when Sasuke becomes more developed via his hatred, his Susanoo evolves, all this stuff. So kind of keeping that in mind too. It's not like B's lore, like the Raikage's lore is like anything to Pain, really. Like Obito didn't even factor in that Pain could lose.
Yeah.
It was not his ideal track. He's like, man, we fell off. We are off the mark right now. So it's I agree.
Yeah, like even then, like you could say that like maybe Zetsu, like he knew everything about the Shinobi world, about B and stuff, and he's like,
Yeah.
why would you make a backup plan if Pain died? Why would you even do that? Like you know what I mean? Like like Pain's gonna die.
Bad.
So to conclude this real quick, what do you think? Like, what would you rate Pain's performance? Like, since we gave like Itachi Kisame together like an 8 or 9, what do you think Pain alone's doing? What do you think?
I think he gets like the 9 to 10. I'm not gonna lie. And the reason I say this is because like unlike Itachi, who like maybe you can make the argument he can like can't spam MS techniques, or he might not do it due to his eyesight or something to that degree, or unlike these factors. Pain's just like objectively always this strong. Like there's no he's always been this strong. Yeah, or stronger. Or stronger, to be honest. So it's just there's no real way. Like you would really have to dumb Pain down and like really have to give a Hail Mary. So I'll probably say 9 out of 10, just for the sake of like, there is always some way something could happen, especially maybe Pain gets split up too much. But let's be honest, so
yeah. No, I completely agree. I think again he's like factory built to bring down Biju, like to be on this like this level and tier. So I mean again, I think whatever you give Itachi and Kisame, pain should be one thing above. So I'd give him like a 9 or a 10, exactly what you said. I think you hit the nail right on the head. So
he ironically, even in his character bio, says he wants to fight the Nine Tails. He wants to fight the strongest biju. He doesn't care about any of them. It's like, this dude's built for it, bro.
Bro, exactly. Like, you don't see him getting sent after the Three Tails, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
100%.
Like, so nah, and just like a real quick round. Like, what do you think Obito might do against cause me personally, like, do you think maybe if Obito had to capture like B, I don't think A would even know. Like, to be honest, I think
No.
I don't think he'd even know.
There's just no way to suggest like
Yeah.
B would recognize the countermeasures to a BFR that quickly. And like there's no thing to suggest. We wouldn't have a teleportation. I think what we saw with Minato was pretty much like the bottom line with like Obito and the fact that once Minato got grabbed, he only was surviving because Obito didn't pull him in at max speed, and he had another mark present. Most fighters in the verse just aren't ready for a fight with Obito with no intel. They just don't have anything to suggest they'd be able to take him on. So there's nothing to suggest like B wouldn't be able to like win in a BFR scenario, or like he doesn't have anything. Like, he's not gonna be able to deduce Kamui, anything like that. I think Obito versus QB Naruto and B is also something. Now that's White Mask Obito, completely separate version, as a Rinnegan, stronger version. But there is a lot to see from that fight and how they weren't able to stop him in any sense. So I think there is something to do that,
No, yeah, for sure. Like, again, like, maybe, like, he would just come through the ground. He'd just grab him, rip him into Kamui, like, be sitting there training, you know? I don't even think they'd really have to fight. Maybe he would just genjutsu him, that's it. But, again, we already saw how, like, what happened, like, when A, like, tried to completely blitz him, and he just casually phased through it. B just has no countermeasure. So, again, we're not going to sit here and ramble on about Obito for too long, because y'all should know how that goes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd say Obito, like, he'd probably have like a 10, like a 9 or 10 again. Not because how like powerful he is, just because like honestly it's just because how hard he counters him. He just like
the nature of his arsenal.
Exactly. So would you agree? Like, what would you give him? Do you give him like a 10? Or?
I think he just wins 10. Like, there's just no chance. Like, there's no conceivable outcome where B just wins.
Yeah. Anyway, I do think that wraps up the whole video. If you guys do have any contentions or whatever with you said, or you think I'm just a complete idiot, or whatever, make sure you do go over to ThunderGod's channel and tell all your friends to go subscribe to get this man to 20K. Come on now. He's putting out heat. He's putting out heat, bro. Come on now. Anyway, man, thank you so much for hopping on here with me.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it was a dope video.
Yeah, man, it was fun, dude. And I hope all you guys did enjoy this video. And as always, love you guys.